Morning, everyone. Welcome back to our next, weekly AMA. Someone's phone's going off. My name is Marty, also known as Alcatraz. For those that might be new to our AMAs or to the project, I'm the lead designer at Raini Studios, primarily working on our flagship title, The Lords of Light. How you going today, Chris?
Can't complain, man. How about yourself?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. I'm on coffee number 3. Promised George that I would be well caffeinated this morning. So yeah, ready and raring to go.
Going to need to be well caffeinated by the sounds after the last few days.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
never a dull moment in Web3 gaming, which is
yeah, I think
half the fun.
all done with love. Ultimately, really completely for the project and you guys. You're really doing a great job. Ultimately, yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, right? We all want to, have a kick-ass game go out there. We want the project to go well, and we want to be able to keep doing this for a very long time.
Exactly.
I'll tell you right now, I don't look good in the Macca's uniform, and I don't look good in an unemployment line. So yeah.
All right.
Cool. Yeah. Do we want to? I guess do just in case anyone's not on Telegram. I guess maybe do a quick recap of the weekend's activities, and then we'll get stuck straight into it. Or
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
sure. Sounds like a good plan. Did you want to do that or want me to take it?
you can take it if you like.
Sure. So I think after the last medium was posted and, the fact that we are coming to the end of June, a lot of people rightfully were asking for some more information. So we had a big number of questions submitted. We're going to try to go a little bit over time today just to get through as many of them as possible. But I do have a hard out in a bit over an hour. So let's not waste too much time. But yeah, a lot of the questions are pretty valid, and we thought it would be a good opportunity to take the AMA since it was scheduled so soon after everyone was asking these questions to just do it on camera and live and in a recorded format so people who can't be here in real time can check it out afterwards. We also had special guest Icebags make his way into the Telegram, who has been busy building out the Campire Pandas universe. And managed to get him on a Google Meet after he flagged a few concerns and addressed everything that he had. So yeah, good to hear that he's on board and looking to help us build towards the future we want. Yeah, so now it's just a matter of going through all the questions that were submitted by the other community members and just being as transparent as we can so that we can just move forward and go towards the game launch.
Awesome. I mean, Draz, any thoughts around which questions you want to start with, or we'll just get stuck straight in?
Yeah, no, I think if you could just like most of the questions, pretty well all of them were around the tokenomics and how that's going to work with the Photon and with Raini and Raini's, I suppose, keeping Raini at the forefront of the whole sort of ecosystem as well. How do you do that with Photon and then also, I suppose, the marketing, getting so close to the game, what the plans are for marketing, considering how close we are, and what that will be moving forward, really. If you could just start with all that sort of stuff, that'd be great.
Sure. So maybe like a bit of a high level overview of the rationale behind the tokenomic system, some of which was outlined in the medium and just an explanation of how it works and the intentions there. So one thing that I want to stress very heavily, catching up with a couple of other members of the team yesterday, is that unlike the majority of crypto projects, we've actually got a plan to become revenue generating. So rather than just going all in circular tokenomics and things that are very insular, which would be suicidal in the depths of a bear market, we have from day one adopted the mentality of, look, the only way we're going to make this sustainable and have value to direct back to all the investors is if we reach a critical mass of adoption of the game. The only way we're going to be able to get to that point is by targeting normal gamers, Web2 gamers, people who potentially have had no exposure or interest in Web3 or crypto in the first place. So Yeah, the motivation for normal gamers is usually that they will come in and play a game and be happy to spend money just to enhance their experience. There's no expectation of financial return. And so that's fantastic for a project because that money that they're happy to spend to have a good experience can be directed into critical things like ongoing development, like launching the mobile version of the game, marketing, things like centralized exchange listings that everyone's talking about. But yeah, the revenue that comes from Web2 gamers is really critical to that. On the other hand, Web3 gamers tend to have more of a mentality of seeing any purchases as an investment. So they have an expectation of a financial return. Not only do they want to get what they've put into the tokens or the NFTs back at some point, but they want to get a return, either additional funds or a multiplier on what they've invested. So if you target Web3 exclusively, then it all falls apart once you get into a bear market and you don't have new players coming in to pay off the old ones. I don't want to throw out the P word here, but that there is a very well established system that has been spoken about for a long time that unfortunately a lot of crypto projects can be seen as. In terms of the way the value can accrue to Rainy, if we have a critical mass of players entering the ecosystem, one, any fiat that they spend, as I said, will be used on things like development and when marketing. But two, the system is designed to encourage but not require as many players as possible to engage with our Web3 layer. So they'll be able to buy exclusive items like the Photon Battle Pass if they go through Photon instead of just fiat, and they will get a significant bonus to their conversion rate. So Lux is the in-game currency. It's not a token. It's just like any game you might play on the App Store. You can get a currency within the game that can be used to buy a lot of things. You can convert your fiat to get Lux, or you can convert Photon and you get a bonus rate. So we get a lot of players in, a bunch of them are going to say, hey, I can get a better bang for buck by going through Web3, setting up MetaMask or whatever it is, and then buying Photon. That puts upward appreciation on the Photon token to buy Lux via Photon, or to just buy a Photon to spend on things like the Battle Pass. From there, any Photon that is spent, we intend to burn. So that allows the project to become deflationary after we get that critical mass of Web3 players. It might take a little bit to get there, but the system is designed, unlike a lot of the GameFi projects, to have the possibility of becoming really sustainable and actually seeing some good long-term price action. Now, how that ties back into the Rainy token is you can stake your Rainy either as LP or as a direct, just pure Rainy stake to earn Photon. So the better the value of the better the price of the Photon token, the higher the value of rewards that you'll be getting just by passively staking and earning as a Rainy holder. The other benefit there is that there are no Rainy emissions planned in this system. So all rewards being paid out in Photon means there's less risk to Rainy holders to take a stake and earn approach, because there could be some volatility to the Photon token initially, which is not necessarily going to be the case to Rainy, just given that requirement for balance the emissions and the rewards. I guess the final point I'd make on the Rainy token is just that Rainy is and always will be the central token to Raini Studios. So assuming we see success with RTLOL and go on to produce a number of additional games that we've had planned, similar systems are planned to be introduced for the other games to direct value back to Rainy holders from those games as well. So Photon is a more volatile but hyper exposed token for RTLOL specifically. Rainy is meant to be more of this kind of, you've invested over the long term, you're going to get long-term rewards just by holding and staking the token, not just in RTLOL, but any other games that the studio may produce in the future as well. So I hope that gives like a bit of an outline of our logic behind the system. The reason we haven't emphasized Rainy's place in the ecosystem previously, and I will acknowledge we've probably not done as good a job of that as we should have, is just because we're introducing all of these new systems and we don't want people to feel overwhelmed. But it hasn't changed our mentality or approach that Rainy is still intended to always be the central token to Rainy Studios. It's just, yeah, why make it more complex? You get the upside just by staking the Rainy token if you want. There's some additional layers that you can engage with, like building magnifiers and deploying them if you want. But if you just want to have the Rainy token and get some upside, all you need to do is stake it in the new Rainy pool, and you'll be earning Photon. So I hope that gives a bit of a high-level overview there. Yeah, before we go into the next one, was the second part more about marketing? Did you say, Ray?
He's had to duck off for a tick, but yeah, the second part is basically to put it in Web3 parlance, when marketing.
Yeah, sure. So marketing, again, this is a two-fold question here. We could, in the depths of a bear market, market a token and blow out our runway on marketing that with very limited expected returns, where at most we might get small pumps that just are followed by dumps thereafter. So we've seen this. Icebags is a very influential guy. If he tweets about Rainy, the Rainy token price can go up 3-4x in a matter of days. But then invariably after that, it just settles back down to about where it was to begin with. These pumps are not sustainable within a bear market when they're not underpinned by something with fundamental utility and value. And so what makes far more sense is for us to have this system designed where success of the game means success of all stakeholders, NFT holders, Rainy holders, and then just throw everything we've got at getting as many people as possible into that game ecosystem. As I said, like the more players we get into the game, it's going to translate to direct upside for everyone in the ecosystem, because those who are just spending fiat, we're going to use that money to keep developing, and that's where we can put some marketing expenditure from. And those who are buying via Photon are going to basically add value to the NFTs, the Rainy, and the Photon token holders. So that's basically where the upside to Web3 comes in. The second part is we've got a bunch of marketing planned. We have partnerships with IndieGG. We have partnerships with Morpheus. They're ready to go. But I've said this before, and I'll just repeat it now in case anyone missed it. There's not going to be much return, even if we are focusing our marketing efforts on the game, if we do it before we have the engagement and retention systems in place. So, we've built out a lot behind the scenes that's just about ready to deploy in terms of like battle passes and progressions and unlocks and bits and pieces like that. These are the things that keep people coming back and playing the game. If we spend a bunch of money on user acquisition now, the game is fun, like it's a really good game, but there's no requirement to keep playing to earn things, or there's no sense of progression to play at the moment. It's really just for the fun of playing a game outside of the big tournaments that happen every now and then. And to some people, they feel gated out of them because we've got an established player base of very skilled card game players who tend to consistently take out those tournaments and the top prizes. So it's just really important to have those in-game rewards that people can get just by playing the game really consistently and engaging on an ongoing basis. So we're waiting until their launch, which is very soon, and then we're going to pull the trigger on the UA so that new players always have someone to play against, and form a bit of a community and increase the long-term player numbers, not just have a spike like the token. We don't really want to be investing in things that just cause an upward spike either in the token price or in player numbers, only to see it drop back off. We really want to have sustainability there. Yeah, and Marty, are we able to announce the other thing on the marketing front, or is that still, what was the plan there?
Which one? So what I've got up on the screen at the moment, these are some of the organizations, groups, and people that we're chatting to who will be working with in some way, shape, or form leading up to the launch for RTLOL. So yeah, I mean, marketing doesn't just happen overnight. There's a lot of stuff. Some of these partnerships and working arrangements have been developed and we've been building towards these for several months. Some of these have been on the trips we've had over to the US earlier this year, stuff like that. Specifically, Chris, if you're referring to the one,
Redacted ones, yeah.
yeah. So that particular partner, we're going to be organizing a Twitter space in the coming days to do a proper announcement there. Just given the size of their Twitter followings, it makes sense to do it there and to get the most eyes on it as possible. But yeah, no, that's a big one. That's the big one, I would say. We're going to be working with that particular organization specifically around the launch of RTLOL. God, look how carefully I have to word this. There are plans to do like a co-marketing plan over 12 months. There's going to be a lot of they're investing a lot in the marketing efforts at launch specifically for us. They're helping us build out some tech infrastructure that's we wouldn't honestly we don't have the skills and expertise to build ourselves. A lot of really like cool back end tech that they're helping us with. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff coming there. But yeah, as I guess with all of our marketing stuff, timing is everything. As Chris mentioned, there's no point bringing a bunch of people into the game now if the game is not at the point where we're ready to keep those users engaged over the long term. Again, we're not aiming for a game where people play it for a day and then move on to something else. We want people around for literally years. Our team has a lot of expertise in live ops, which is a game dev term basically for all the work you do after a game comes out. So that's looking at things as like our battle pass. It's looking at future sets, tournaments. It's our player of the year race. It's our world championships. It's all those things that basically, in addition to having a really fun core experience, it's all those additional parts of the game that we can build on over time to keep people wanting to come back for more. Gamers these days have very short attention spans. I'm already seeing people who are, they're done with Diablo 4, a game that has a lot of content to it, but they're basically done until the next content drops. They're waiting for like season 1, the battle pass, stuff like that. So in a similar vein, we're making sure that when we launch, we've got all those pieces in place to give people lots of things to do and explore and try within RTLOL.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah, so I guess those are the couple of high level items that we just wanted to cover off before we jump into some of the more specific questions. But as Marty said, keep an eye out because we have been pushing to make this announcement for a while, and it sounds like it'll be done in a Twitter space within the coming days. It is a big one. I think it's going to be something that you're not disappointed by, and we're really excited to work with this particular partner going into the launch. So yeah, it should be really cool. Yeah.
I think they're really excited as well. When we were chatting to them, they've added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of their team members have joined our Slack channel. So yeah, they're quite big, but yeah, they are very, very keen for what is coming up.
Yeah, so that should be a good one. I've actually got a couple of questions that I had from Ray Draz sent through. If he's unavailable at the moment, I might just run through some of them quickly. So one of the questions that was submitted was asking for detail around infused NFTs and what happens after the temporary boost. I'll just clarify there. The intention with infused NFTs is that they will all allow a temporary multiplier boost when deployed to a photon staking pool. There are a number of different photon staking pools that will exist, some for LP, some for direct. So there's a bit of a gamification element there to work out which one gives you the maximum ROI and when to deploy it. All of the infused NFTs will have a durability stat, which is not intended to be rechargeable. So it's similar to stamina for gold and chroma, but gold and chroma will get a second life where they will have the ability to be deployed as magnifiers, as we flagged in a previous medium. or we're just going to airdrop. Like, so there's going to be some additional value for gold and chroma holders regardless, where you can participate in this scheme. The more difficult to acquire ones, so chromas, for example, that were really, there was only a couple, I think, that ever got created. They will have a much higher durability stat. So it's important to use them wisely. And then the final piece of the equation is if you don't have your own position in a photon staking pool, you'll be able to sell them on the secondary market to someone who does. So they should still have some value there. But they're basically intended to be once off, significant boosts for a period of time that varies based on how difficult to acquire they are, how powerful they are. And then, yeah, you can keep the NFT, but it's not planned to have any further involvement in the photon world beyond that. We've covered off the Rainy item. That was the second on his question. There was a question asking for all of the team members to be doxed and have their achievements highlighted. We are not going to force our staff to dox themselves to the general public if it's something they're not comfortable doing. But we're happy to post bios of people on the team who are happy to be doxed. So we've already doxed a lot of our team members, including Marty, JJ, and myself. And yeah, happy to put up somewhere publicly all of the experience we've got, all of the things we've worked on. I know if Hitbox is happy to be included there, then the projects will be pretty impressive. But yeah, we'll open it up to the team and everyone who's interested, happy to post about their names and their work history. I had another question on details on the maps for the overworld and the first person game. These are all basically on the back burner for now while we focus on RTLOL. We're very close to full launch, so yeah, we can give you some more details on that, but how aggressively we go after the further games is dependent on how much success we see with RTLOL. So it's really important that we just focus all of our energy on making RTLOL as successful as possible and getting as many players to join and play over the long term. Another question was asking for the names of all VCs and key partners. I feel like we've been pretty transparent about that. We post them on the website. We've like all the VCs and the key partners that are relevant. The only time where we can't is like this Twitter space that's coming up where we have a lot of things on the go that just aren't formally agreed upon yet. So there's a lot of, I guess, gentlemen's agreements or verbal partnerships where we are intending to go forward and work with another organization. But until we get everything signed and ready, we just have to be a little bit, keep that close to our chest. It's interesting working in the Web3 space where everyone wants full transparency of everything. And I think it's great with like the blockchain, but we still, just for privacy reasons and NDA reasons, need to be careful about what we can disclose there and the partners. But we have announced all the VCs we've had involved. So I've just sped run through, I think, 5 questions there. I don't know if you had any, Marty, that you wanted to run through.
I was going to just touch on that last point around like what we actually want to publicly talk about and what we don't. Keep in mind, like anything we release public, yeah, cool, it's great for the community, but any of our competitors will see that exact same information as well. So yeah, if we're in the process of trying to close a deal with a potential VC, close a deal with a potential launch partner, something like that, then yeah, there's very obvious reasons why we want to keep that play that close to the chest. So yeah, just definitely worth keeping in mind. I know looking at some of our competitors in the space, I've seen copy on their materials that looks very similar to copy we put out for ours and stuff like that. So it's while the open, transparent nature of Web3 is amazing, and we'll always keep doing things like these AMAs, we do need the community to understand that there will be times where we just can't talk about certain things, or we can't give it a specific date for a certain thing, because game development is a very fluid process. As much as we might plan and estimate and try to hit certain dates, the reality of game development, and this isn't even just Web3, like you look at most major games, they will always get pushed back and delayed because things will just pop up. that can't be expected. And that's just the nature of any creative endeavor, game development especially.
Yeah,
In
sure.
terms of other questions,
Should we go through some of Nemesis? I know he's been pretty vocal,
yeah,
so
yeah, I mean we can touch on how I guess the soulbound and collectible cards are designed to work.
sure.
And
Sorry,
I've seen that.
guys. I've been AFK on the keyboard, just loading this excavator on a truck. But so I'm not sure where you're at to. But did you talk about the Q rugs and the faded cards? Have you got onto that sort of stuff at the moment?
We're literally
Good
about to touch
timing.
on that.
Yeah, there
Perfect
we
timing.
go. Introduced
Yeah.
by Ray.
Yeah, sorry, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's all good. Yeah, so just for anyone who is interested, the question that Nemesaur submitted was, I might paste it and then share it. That might be a little bit easier than reading the whole thing out, right? So
Yeah, if you paste it in just in the YouTube chat, we can well that
it's
didn't work.
split it into,
Yeah.
it's too big. Okay. Look, it's in the chat now. So that's the first of 3 parts to the single question. He's basically just asking about how the rent model will work, or the faded cards in relation to soulbound cards, and how many cards can actually be used. So the intention with the faded cards is not that you can share them infinitely and everyone can use the same NFT version of the card to play. It's meant to be a single card that gets created when you stake the original card, and then if you have that faded card, you can use it in a deck. So it's really just still, for every card that you want to run in your deck, you'll need a faded or NFT card in your wallet at the time you play it. The intention with soulbound cards is, as I said earlier at the beginning of this AMA, we really need a critical mass of players to be playing RTLOL over the long term for this to be successful. And so we need to make it attractive enough for new players to actually be able to get in and play the game. That's where we came up with the idea of soulbound cards, which are account locked. They have no real value, no secondary market value. They can just be played in the game, and then based on the prevalence of soulbound cards or any cards in terms of the decks that are winning, their win rate, that will dictate the rewards that accrue back to the staked collector cards. This allows us to get people into the game and hopefully not act as too big a barrier to actually playing, because they can still play the cards in the game, which otherwise they may check out the game, realize they've only got the base cards to work with, unless they drop thousands of dollars into a game that they've only just tried for the first time. I think it's too big an ask. Maybe over time they become advocates and can do that, but for a new player, it's just not realistic. They can unlock the cards, and then over time, with the systems we mentioned earlier, we're hoping to convert more and more of them to the Web3 side of the equation. The other thing I'll point out here is that we did commit to making the NFT cards eternal. That is not intended to be the case for Soulbound. So, once we rotate out some seasons for Soulbound, the only way you'll be able to play with those cards is intended to be the NFTs. It just gives us a bit more time to grow the player base and not turn people off by the inability to play with cards in the first place. The photon rewards, there's meant to be a fixed amount that's allocated to the pool and divided, but due to the system wherein we burn photon that is spent, and we have a limited max supply of photon, then if we're getting enough players, we should see good photon price appreciation. So the value of the rewards that come back in dollar terms, it should be higher. Yeah, I hope that answers the question, clears up some confusion there. I do appreciate it is a bit to get your head around. We've introduced a lot of new systems in the last medium, but they've all been introduced with intentionality. They serve a purpose in the scheme of things to try to get us to a point where we have a sustainable economic and tokenomic model that allows all of the early investors to benefit from the upside of the game.
The soulbound cards. What cards fall into that category? Are they just the commons and uncommons from this drop coming and future drops, or are there higher level versions of that as well? I'm not sure if that's been said yet.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. The intention is to have all cards be unlockable in soulbound versions, which will be able to be played but not able to participate in the play and earn element, and eventually expire. So if they're just soulbound, so the only way to have permanent playtime is if you own the NFT version of the card, where we committed to an eternal format. So yeah, that's the intention behind soulbound cards. Yeah.
So when you say when you say all of them
you,
available, so in theory, someone could eventually, I imagine, at a much higher level, unlock a Chad Raini or a Q Rug to play for whatever that period of time is. But I imagine the higher level cards will be a lot further down the battle pass levels or something like that, will they?
Yeah,
that doesn't take away from people who own those at the moment, obviously.
Correct. Yeah.
It actually, so
go ahead. I'll leave it to you, Mark.
I'll say why this system is actually kind of cool and where it's really interesting. If someone does manage to like earn a soulbound, you use Chad Raini as the example, that actually benefits every single person who owns a collectible version or a faded version of Chad Raini, because there'll be more of those cards being played in the player pool. Therefore, more of the total player rewards that we're allocating to those three different reward tiers get allocated towards that particular card.
Cool.
So as weird as it sounds, you want to own the collectible cards, obviously, but you then want to have people playing with those cards as well. So you almost end up in this interesting situation where, yeah, obviously, you know, as a general rule of thumb, like the rewards are weighted towards the higher rarities. So mythics and legendaries will earn more than like commons, uncommons, and rares. And obviously, commons and uncommons as collectibles are only from Genesis.
Yep.
But yeah, you pretty much, the more people that are playing with the cards, we're also allocating based on that. So as the metagame shifts, you know, active collectors who are actively involved in the game, they're playing tournaments. You know, maybe they look at, you know, cards that we're leaking for, you know, formations or upcoming sets, and they go, oh, if that's the card being leaked in formations, I think that's going to really make Fire Elemental, this is just a complete example here. I'm not suggesting in any way, shape, or form that Fire Elemental is going to be more powerful based on formations. But let's say you believe it is. So you grab a bunch of those, you stake them up, and then if you are correct, then yeah, obviously more players will be playing with it, and then your rewards for that particular card that you have staked will go up.
Yeah, that sounds good. I don't, like you say, as long as that's an interesting dynamic, I suppose, where people playing with the card, the returns come back to the owners or the faded stakers effectively as well. So, like you're saying, you sort of thought about, okay, we're going to unlock these for some people, and they're going to do that through the battle pass and the levels and all that sort of thing to encourage people to play. They want to go after, they want to get that card to use. But the people who have bought them and invested in them already and are staking them will earn extra as well, because those people have unlocked them through the soulbound process.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds cool.
There will be multiple avenues to unlock soulbound cards. So will be soulbound packs that you can unlock for gold and Lux within the game. We're also going to be doing not for Genesis, but for all sets past Genesis. There will be soulbound. Haven't got the name down pat yet. We're calling them like common packs, but they're only going to contain common and uncommon cards. Because obviously, for people who are collecting collectible cards, you still need a way to unlock commons and uncommons within the game to be able to play with them. So yeah, we're going to have like obviously heavily discounted packs for that purpose there as well. So you'll be able to basically very quickly just unlock all of those on your account. Pretty much like, you know, I would anticipate most players who are heavily collecting collectible cards and are, you know, most likely going to be spending Photon on Lux and then buying these common packs with Lux. Wouldn't have any issue getting all the commons and uncommons unlocked on their account day one when a new set drops. But yeah, obviously that's only relevant for specifically at the moment is Tempest and then formations and other major sets as we move forward.
Yeah, great. Was that
Okay.
were you reading from Nemesis questions, Ray, or something else when
Uh,
you got that one?
I think it was related to Nemesaurs, but I just made that up myself. That those questions that I was asking there that weren't
The
part of that.
dome.
That was just trying to elaborate what you were saying about the soul bounds, because I
Yeah,
think
fair.
it's not clear, but that makes sense what you said there, and I think that benefits everybody ultimately the way you're going to do it there.
Yeah, I'm just going through Nemesaur's questions, and just a shout out to Nemesaur as well. Like at the end of the day, I know I mentioned this on the weekend in the Telegram chat. The team may not respond to every single comment that gets dropped on Telegram, Discord, Twitter, wherever, but I guarantee you we read them, and internally we discuss them. So when there are things that the community is talking about and they're addressing, as a team internally, we are always like we like to keep our finger on the pulse, to know what the community is talking about. And yeah, and a lot of the stuff that the community does throw out there, does actually influence the decision making process that we do, whether that be things along the lines of, say, tokenomics, player rewards, even just general game design. Phoenix got emergency nerfs months ago. God, this is like back around the start of the year, basically because George had a panic attack realizing when he realized how broken the card was. So yeah, at the end of the day, like we do always take our community feedback seriously, and we do everything we can to make sure that what we're building as a team aligns with the hopes, expectations of the community there as well.
Nice. Are you just running through some of those questions there, or
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just
so
reading through number
I mean,
three now.
we've partially covered the first couple, but just to fill in some of the gaps there. So yeah, just to clarify, the value of holding the collector cards or the NFT versions of the cards is twofold. I guess it's threefold. One, you get the ability to play with those cards straight away in any decks you have. Two, you can stake the cards and then benefit from the collector rewards, which are based on that card you've staked, how prevalent it is across the games that are being played by other players, and how much success those decks are seeing. So if it's like got a positive upside to the expected win rate, you're going to get more rewards just by owning the card and then benefiting from the games that are played across the entire ecosystem. And then three, you can issue that faded card to someone else to play and then earn a share of their active rewards. So there's a lot of upside there. The long-term value is, as I said, for soulbound cards, they're intended to, I guess, rotate out as we've seen with other games, but not for collector cards. So you'll be able to play with cards that anyone with the soulbound versions is not able to once the Genesis set rotates out, for example. And that's going to create a lot of scarcity there over the long term, which should help with the value of the cards. But again, it's going to be a long tail thing. It's not something that you can, in a bear market, easily just quickly flip for profit. They're not really the type of investors we're looking to attract anyway. We want people who come with us on the long run. So that's kind of the first two, I believe.
I'll quickly just touch on that there as well.
Yeah.
Like when we are talking about doing this for the long haul, like that's why we've developed those two different kinds of reward systems. So like I think in the article or the medium, it's like passive collectors and active collectors. So if you are the sort of person that wants to be here for the long haul, but just wants to basically collect a bunch of NFTs, stake them, and move on with your life, cool. You can come back every month, unlock rewards, and do with them as you will. But yeah, the active rewards, the people who are really willing to put the time and effort in, play the game, follow the meta, understand what decks are strong, what individual cards are powerful, that you'll be rewarded for that time investment. Basically, is probably the best way to put it.
Yep. Okay. This ties into the third point, just concerns around the facts that there's a max supply of photon, but there will be ever increasing number of cards. That is completely correct, but yeah, with the rotation and the fact that the collector cards will be limited forever, then that should provide long-term value to the collector holders. Next question Nemesis had was just the X photons will be transferred into photons over time. Can you roughly say over what time period? Yeah, we're looking at about a year to get all of the X photon to photon conversions happening. We've got that in the modeling. As we said earlier, we're gonna unveil all the numbers once they are final, but that might not be until shortly before launch, just because there are a bunch of moving pieces that can cause us to shift the numbers as appropriate.
But you've said in the past that you will people who have collected X photons, even though they may not totally release for a year, they will get portions of release as we go, enough to buy things and participate in whatever photon is used for.
Yeah, when we work out what the like the release schedule, I guess, will be for X Photon, we'll definitely be looking at the planning around the game as well. There'd be nothing worse than people who have collected X Photon not being able to buy the Photon Battle Pass because we haven't released enough of their Photon allocation at that point in time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll definitely be taking that into account to make sure that yeah, you've got the right basically the right amount is getting released to be usable, but not dumping it all at once, which would just dump the price to zero, and that helps no one. So yeah.
No, exactly. And when the staking pools and all that sort of thing come online, once actual photon's in, you're obviously just earning photon that is not vested. That's just ready to go straight out of the bat.
Yep.
Yeah, so next item was, I mean, I've covered off the Raini token. So it's probably question 6, around communication of dates. So the Arthron NFT drop got delayed multiple times and then was confirmed with only a handful of days notice. To be completely honest with you, this is based on the fact that developing things carries a lot of uncertainty. We rely on the estimates of our development team, and sometimes they hit snags that are completely unexpected. So, the Arthron drop, some of the issues that came up with that were around the fact that whilst we created the bridge to the Rainiverse of points from on-chain points, all of the old art-based drops were revolved around spending on-chain points. So we had to, and we'd never done a drop where you could just straight buy NFTs with Rainiverse bridged points. So that took a bit longer than we would have liked to get resolved. It all got there in the end, and aside from a small bug with the quantity on the day, I think it went relatively smoothly and sets us up really well for the Tempest drop. So it was a critical piece in the equation to prepare us for the Tempest drop. But yeah, beyond that, it's kind of one of these things where if the reality is there can be unexpected delays and we advertise the date too early, that's going to cause a lot of upset people who are going to be saying, why is it delayed? Like, this is ridiculous. You said it'd be on this day. Now you're saying it's going to be on this day. If we don't advertise the date, then we run into a position where as soon as it's ready, we can either announce it with a short window of time, or we can push it back even further to allow people to prepare. We try to make what we think is the best call each time. In the case of Arthron, because it had been delayed so long and it wasn't a pack drop, we thought the best thing to do was just to get that drop done as soon as possible, even if it was only a handful of days notice. But obviously for something as important as the Tempest drop, we've given over 2 weeks notice of the anticipated time frame there. But again, we've got to make sure everything's tested and we're confident to confirm that's going to happen. That's kind of where we're at with the dates. The next item is around roadmap or future outlook. 100%. So we have designed and launched most of the RTLOL website. It's intended to be a bit of a standalone website that complements the Raini.io website. It's not meant to replace it. And that's why you'll see that it doesn't have a lot of information about the token or anything like that. It just redirects you back to Raini. That's so that we don't put anyone off that comes from a Web 2 background and is just engaging with the game for the first time, and so we don't overwhelm people. If they're just interested in the game to begin with, they get everything they need for the game. We will flesh it out with more information as we go. And then the Raini site, we have done a redesign for, and we're in the process of getting that deployed. Although I did read that George has got a lot of ideas for it. So George, if you want to DM me your summary, I can bring it back to our designer to see if there's any last minute changes we want to make there for Raini.io. But yeah, that one should be done, I would say, by the time the full game launches, which is pretty much imminent at this point. That kind of ties into point 8. Yeah, so I think that covers off pretty much all of Nemasaur's questions. Were there any others from, I know you had a G sheet with a bunch of questions, Ray. We got about halfway through that, did we?
Yeah, I think you might have every single partnership. Obviously, roadmap. The guys are looking for a roadmap, but like you mentioned there, I think I think that sort of stuff. Again, it doesn't have to be even date based. It's just like mobile versions are coming. Once we establish RTLOL, there's other games coming potentially. But people have been asking information about the heroes. Was a thing, obviously, that keeps coming up because we talked about it, but that's been sort of postponed a little bit, hasn't it? I think.
Yeah, I mean, we were looking at when we were planning on doing the Tempest drop as a normal pack drop, which is where there's a maybe like a third of the packs or something are allocated to Rainy holders, and then the majority are for public sale. Then we were thinking, okay, well, as a bonus to all the Rainy holders, we'll add in heroes for that. Especially for the Rainbow Unicorn packs. We then pivoted and decided actually, we want to give a lot of value back to Rainy holders with the packs themselves, the cards. And so the vast majority of packs are actually going to be purchasable with Rainbows and Unicorns rather than ETH or BNB. Because of that, we decided, okay, it makes more sense to split off the heroes and do them as a separate drop. So yeah, the intention there is we've got all the art ready to go. We've got all the the assets we need to do it. But I think we will do the Tempest drop next, and then the hero drop. I believe we could look at scheduling like just before full launch, which is shortly. To give an indication of full launch timeframes as well, because we were saying it was going to be June. There has been a slight delay, but not significant at all. We're still looking to do a launch on Epic as kind of like a season 0 sort of thing, starting next month, and not end of next month. We're aiming for mid next month to be live on Epic. So we'll have some more details coming out about that over the next few days. But the hero drop is the next on the list after the Tempest drop. We'll give you a big heads up. It's not going to be like an Arthron thing with a few days notice. So you got plenty of time to prepare and plan for the hero drop. It'll come before the next pack drop after Tempest.
I mean, without locking us into dates, we can probably touch a little bit on what the launch schedule is, I guess, roughly with alongside Epic. So we're looking at basically doing an early access version of the game. That is the one that hopefully will be on Epic mid next month. We're doing a season 0, so that's like for the battle pass leaderboards, stuff like that. That should go for about a month, and that will basically build into our full launch promotion for season 1. The idea there basically being there's a lot of new systems, a lot of new stuff that's being built under the hood. This gives us a way to stress test all of the new stuff that's being built in a safe way to do it. As much as we can test internally as a team, there's some things that you just won't find until you have thousands of people hitting it all at once. So yeah, that gives us a really good opportunity to test all those out. Obviously, it gives the players an opportunity as well to start playing through the season 0 battle pass. Give us your feedback, give us your thoughts. Like is it have we got the balance right? Does it take too long to move between levels? Is it too quick to move between levels? Stuff like that. Lets us collect a lot of data. And then, season 1, the plan at this stage is that the first full season would run for 3 months total. And it'll be a 3-tier battle pass system. So there'll be a free tier, a premium tier, and then a Photon exclusive tier in there as well.
So after that 3 months and the first sort of season comes through, there's a new like a theme or something, and the next one comes similar to sort of like, as an example, similar to Fortnite, I suppose. They change the map, they change up some things that you earn and all the guns and whatever. You change the system a little bit, and off you run for another few months or a couple of months with the new one, new rewards. Keep going like that.
Yeah, there'll be like seasonal leaderboards. So for example, every 3 months we still have an overall leaderboard, but we reset the season leaderboard. So it means that Huncho has to actually put some effort in to get back to the top of the leaderboard every 3 months. And George can think he can try and beat him that every 3 months, and then we'll see how that goes. Yeah. Aussies, like, if we give you shit, it means we love you, so it's fine.
Exactly.
Actually, do the rest of the world know that? Like, maybe that's just an Aussie thing. Anyway,
they will learn it. They'll learn it over time.
So there'll be some systems that resets on a seasonal basis. There'll be some things that are like just eternal, basically. So like I said, there'll be an eternal leaderboard, as well as seasonal, like short-term leaderboards. The hope at this stage is that if we get the timing right, we can do our set drops mid-season as well. Because obviously 3 months, it feels like a long time. It actually is quite short. But if we can then shake up the meta halfway through each particular season, that's what keeps it fresh and exciting. So you're always every 6 weeks something will be very different about the game experience. And then again, as we as a team, as we get better with our live ops, as we get more systems in place, get more automation in there, we'll do more and more things. We're working obviously very closely with a lot of partners to make sure that there's a lot of exciting things going on. Obviously, I know I've done this a million times, but just a huge shout out to Blue Mint. They have been absolutely amazing. For anyone who's watching who might not be aware, and I really hope that that's not the case, Blue Mints, in addition to hosting our large tournaments that we hold every month, they run multiple tournaments every single week. They put up small prize pools, but their team's always there to help out with problems. And yeah, if you are a competitive TCG player, if you enjoy that more competitive aspect of TCGs, please check out Blue Mint and all the stuff they do for us. But they're a very, very important partner for us. Their logo should probably look, the size of the logos on the screen here, by the way, has literally nothing to do with how much we love them or how important they are. It's literally when I was just dragging this into Photoshop like 5 minutes before we started. I'm just like trying to randomly, and I had to learn how to blur. I've never blurred something in Photoshop before. I had to learn how to do little blur effects. So shout out to Hitbox for teaching me the shortcut to do little blurred things there.
I think I know what that top left one is.
I think we're not going to say who the top left one is.
No,
we're gonna.
I think.
I think you do. I think you probably do too. But
a little bit more blurring there, mate. I think.
Yeah, probably. That was my first ever blur. So yeah.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, if anyone's it does figure out who that is, they're caught up with them at 3XP over in LA. And yeah, over a really nice bottle of red, we did a lot of planning, and we got some really cool stuff coming along. I never thought I'd like Californian reds. I just I feel dirty even saying that.
Yeah. When I go to America and drink red wine, I drink Australian wine. It's just more expensive over there. Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, anything is better than Italian reds, but I mean that's I don't like the dirt taste, but that's just me.
Yeah. All right, so we should speed through this because I'm gonna have to jet soon. Just get through as many as we can.
I think the big one of the biggest ones is the marketing aspect. Have you touched on any of that already, or
we covered a lot of the marketing stuff off while you were
I have to listen.
Working on the truck.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that one's all good. But basically, it's all going to be coming with the ways to keep players over the long term. So all the retention features in the game. And yeah, similarly, so marketing and centralized exchanges. We've had options. We've had a bunch of offers for centralized exchange listings, but again, in a bear market, if you go look at like all the recent listings of say Binance or KuCoin or any of these things, doesn't really translate to anything. There's no sustained increase in token prices. You might get like a little bit of bump, but yeah, it's just not the pill that it is during the height of a bull market, where just saying, we're listing on this well-known exchange allows you to piggyback off that brand recognition and see a huge price appreciation. We're just not expecting to get anything like that. So whilst we have plenty of options for centralized exchanges, we're still very selective about what we do and what makes sense. Yeah, and what would help us there is if we get a good amount of success with the full launch of the game and see a lot of activity, then we get much better deals with centralized exchanges. So that's something that we have the option, but it just depends on our relative bargaining position when we pull the trigger and who we do it with. Obviously, Bitmart, we've done featured on a card. They're keen. We've had, I think, 3 or 4 other centralized exchanges we've been speaking to who have offered to list us. But yeah, I just want to stress that I don't think it's the panacea that a lot of people believe it is to help the project. Cool. What else was on the list here? We have airdrops. So all of the airdrops are, yeah, like all the X Photon is intended to be done before we launch the X Photon to Photon portal. We don't want anyone that is owed X Photon to miss out on the option to, start redeeming that from day one. We have the Blue Mint prize distributions. How are we going on the prize distributions, Marty? Do you know?
Yeah, we had some issues we had to chase up where, so I'll mention this here just for the community aware. When you put your wallet info into Blue Mint, please don't put an AVAX or a non-ERC20 wallet into the system because it just doesn't work. Like everything we're sending are going to be ERC20 tokens. Just put a MetaMask wallet to put it simply. We're getting that sorted. I'm hoping that all the prizes for the last tournament, I think one of the airdrops we had to as well, will be going out in the next, say, 24 hours. And that will also include all of the Blue Mints tournaments as well.
Did we answer Mizen's question about the winner of the card ideas contest being released, and what do they get as a prize?
Yeah, so that's a good one. Yeah, so I mean, with the Tempest set due next week, we are planning on giving prizes from the Tempest pack. So we have mostly Tempest packs. We have some other packs, but yeah, we'll do that over the next week, 100%. I've got them all selected. We just have to do an announcement, and then yeah, get them issued to coincide with the Tempest pack drop.
Okay. Is there a way? One of the questions, I suppose, is that on OpenSea, for example, Raini's NFTs and everything produced by Raini seems to be in a lot of different places. Is it possible to somehow make them all available in a one place so that people can access them all, or are they just by the contracts and things they're segmented?
Unfortunately, yeah, OpenSea doesn't do a feature that JPEGs does, for example, where we can actually set up like a centralized page and link out to every like collection that we do.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's unfortunately because obviously we've had contracts evolve and change, and we've had like V2s of some of our contracts get deployed over time. The unfortunate reality is that some of the contracts will be a bit fragmented. Having said that, the like Rainy Corn evolved V2s on ETH and BSC should be the final, I guess, contract moving forward. So that's like where Arthron is and stuff like that, and any other NFT drops that we do will be on that. And then the Rainy like the RTLOL evolved on the 3 chains, ETH, BSC, and Avalanche should be the final contract. For us to bring like Genesis into that, there's a couple of ways we could potentially do it, but the most common one would literally be that we would burn the Genesis contract and have to remint everything on the new contract, which, yeah, it's obviously not an ideal situation at all. So yeah, we can definitely, one of the things obviously, and actually one of the things that I know we do want to touch on here quickly was the websites. But yeah, obviously one of the things we can do on the new Rainy.io website would be have a very clear like page that links out to our collections on OpenSea and JPEGs.
Yeah, that'd be good. I think something simple as that.
Yep.
And if JPEGs was an option to centralize things, then it's, I think, a reasonable thing to point people to that, and they can just go from there. That's a good idea.
I mean, JPEGs is they should be on this page. They're a great partner for us, obviously on Avalanche and BSC. But again, we wouldn't want to. We're never going to set up anything in the contracts that forces you to use a single storefront like that. So obviously, if people want to use OpenSea, they can. If they want to use JPEGs, please do. And yeah, we'll link to both of them. But yeah, like personally, when we've had issues with stuff on OpenSea, we struggle to get an email back. When we've had issue with we have a Telegram group with the whole JPEGs leadership team, which is also the Trader Joe's leadership team as well. And they've been awesome in their support of us.
Yeah, I think that's good. Good to have a centralized place like that can help and are easy accessible. Like you say, OpenSea is a nightmare, it seems, for a lot of people. Cool.
The only other question I have noticed pop up in the YouTube chat was just asking about like the studio's like runway. I mean, unless you want to go any more detail, Chris, I mean, we can just say like,
Sure.
Yes, we have a runway.
So,
yes, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So the short answer there is I'm not going to quantify how much we've got for a number of reasons, but we have more than enough runway to get us through the full launch of RTLOL and all the initial marketing, and give us a good chance of success in the game. This is a really good one to bring up because we're constantly getting requests from people to throw more money at marketing or throw more money at centralized exchanges. If we do things like that without actually getting an ROI, then that's just going to reduce our runway. And we're firmly of the opinion the only way we can have long-term success is if the game RTLOL is successful. If we have arbitrary token pumps on Rainy, that's not really going to help us make a long-term viable economy. It doesn't really generate any revenue for the project. It doesn't, create any sustained upward pressure on the token. If we market and get people to buy the token now, it's similar to that centralized exchange thing. It likely would just result in a short spike in the price of the token and then settling down to where we were before. And then we've spent that money, and that's less money we have to put into development of things like the mobile version of the game, or user acquisition on a sustained level for post-game launch, or marketing with significant influencers who have clout within the gaming space and can get us people who are going to become invested in the game over the long term and be happy spending money and sustaining it. So yeah, we've got enough runway to cover everything we need to give RTLOL the best chance of becoming a really successful game. But we wouldn't if we kept spending money on everything the community asks us to on a day-to-day basis, to be honest.
Yeah, unfortunately, gone are the days of like 2020, 2021, where you could have a pitch deck and a dream and land millions of dollars just because your deck has the words like Web3 in it. Have to be a little bit smarter with how we allocate resources these days.
Marty, have you talked about, I missed that first section, obviously, but the concept of the player of the year, and there was another one too. Have you mentioned what,
Yep.
Because that would seem to be quite a thought process involved in creating that.
Yeah, so I know we've mentioned it a few times. We mentioned it in the most recent medium. Two of the long-term incentives or reward systems that we're looking at doing is a Player of the Year competition, as well as a RTLOL World Championship. We're currently chatting with one of our close partners who is interested in basically sponsoring both of those. So when we can release more information on that, we will. It's the sort of thing we've got to make sure that we get it right. And again, make sure we're doing it in a way that is fair to everyone, but obviously rewards players for their time investment. Probably the best for people that were interested in those sort of things. The best thing I can suggest is have a look at probably the early days of like the Magic the Gathering Pro Tour. will give you some good ideas of I guess the inspiration behind how we're trying to set those systems up. But yeah, it's again in the same way that we're doing a variety of time-based reward programs, incentives. Breaking things up into battle pass seasons, doing things which are eternal. These would be basically a year-long sort of promotion that we're looking to do. But yeah, as soon as we're able to tell more about it, we will. I know one of the crazy ideas. Actually, yeah, feel free to give me your thoughts on Telegram in like one of the many Rainy channels that we have. I know one of the thoughts that we had around the World Championship would actually be that it starts out as an online tournament, and then when we get down to our final 8, we actually stop. We fly everyone to a relatively centralized location, and then we play out the top 8 as an in-person live tournament. So yeah, that was one of the interesting things about it. I don't know how that works when you've got a global community and visas are a thing, for example. But yeah, the thought of having like an arena top 8 playing out in a live person with like commentary and all that would actually be really awesome. But yeah, as soon as we have more of those systems locked in that we're doing, yeah, you'll all be the first to know.
All right. I can't really. I mean, I missed some of the stuff at the beginning, but there's not a lot else I can see here, guys. But I'm sure there will be more coming from this once people digest what you've said. But that'll be for the next AMA, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, we're most likely going to be back here next Tuesday, or was it? I think it's Monday evening in the US at the moment, like wherever you happen to be around the world. Yeah, happy to answer questions. We'll probably try to get some of this stuff consolidated into a medium as well, just to give a more centralized written resource to find things. George, if you're referring to marketplaces like OpenSea and JPEGs, we just touched on that. I'm not sure what you're asking for there.
Yeah, we're probably gonna be supporting JPEGs as our preferred marketplace, but allow it on any third party. We're not at this stage looking to build our own like NFT marketplace. We just want to work with what we've got and try to get the best out of it. OpenSea at the moment is a little bit annoying to deal with because of their rules, but I think the competition we're seeing in the marketplace space is going to push them to become more flexible there. So I think it's only a matter of time until OpenSea gives us friendlier interfaces, and in the interim, and I guess even beyond that, we're just going to be supporting great marketplaces and partners like Trader Joe.
Yeah. Actually, do you want to quick? I'm aware you've got a hard stop, Chris. Should we quickly just touch on the websites Raini.io and RTLOL.com as well?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I did it at a very high level, but if you want to go over some more points, then we can do that too.
Yeah, so obviously we've launched RTLOL.com. Still need to add a bit more content on it. The general idea is RTLOL.com will be the landing page for people who are interested in the game, whether or not they are Web 2 or Web 3 gamers. It'll be a centralized resource for basically people who want to play Raini, the Lords of Light. And then we'll still have Raini.io, which will get a bit of a facelift. So obviously there's a lot of stuff that we need to add on there. Which would be basically the central page for the studio and the Raini token is probably the best way to sort of think of it. RTLOL.com very, very soon we'll have a player like login section where you'll actually log in with your Epic store account. That part's all been built, and that's where you will link your wallets across for any wallets that contain collectible cards, or I guess faded cards down the road when we launch that contract. To basically, and then that will pull those card collections into the game. So yeah, like I said, there'll be basically 2 websites that we're updating and maintaining over time. RTLOL.com is where you want to direct people who are interested in the game specifically, and then Raini.io for people who are interested in the Raini token specifically.
Excellent. And just the Tempest drop. That's when is that again? That's Monday coming.
That's next week, yeah.
Next week?
Yep, so everything's, as I said, a lot of the stuff we built out for Arthron, we needed to build out anyway to get that drop ready to go. We'll drop some more specifics a little bit closer. But yeah, the big thing to keep in mind for that specific drop is there will be a lot of packs allocated this time around for rainbow and unicorn holders. So yeah, make sure you've got them bridged over to the Rainiverse. I would guess unlike 7DS, which obviously was a much smaller set in comparison, there will also be for rainbow and unicorn holders. There'll be a mixture of both packs available for general sale, as well as the raffles and auction systems. So whether or not you prefer the raffles and auctions like we did for 7DS, or you prefer just the old school first in best dressed, we'll have you covered.
So there'd be probably wallet caps type stuff situation, maybe if there's any left after that. I imagine opening it up later on with just whatever's left in that pool, obviously.
Yep, same as with Arthron. There'll be basically wallet caps for. I'm not sure what the time limit will be on that. We'll obviously make sure that's very clear before the drop. But yeah, once the wallet caps are lifted, all bets are off, basically.
Yeah, it'll be great to have those cards actually to be able to actually collect them again. Been playing with them for a long time, a lot of people, but so very well known now, aren't they? Some of that Tempest stuff.
And that was, I mean, outside of just wanting to make sure we're obviously, as always, putting a lot of value back to people who are holding the Rainy token. The fact that the community obviously is very familiar with these cards. Some of them are some very iconic cards, especially if you follow like the tournament scene. You know, cards like Aurora. I think we've all played against replicators in Aurora at some point. So yeah, definitely wanted to make sure that those cards are available to everyone. So there will be obviously packs available for general sale for ETH, BNB, and Avalanche. But yeah, the majority of the packs will be allocated specifically to rewards for Rainy token holders.
Nice.
Cool. Let's wrap up there. Hey, I think we got through a lot of questions today, so I hope that addresses a lot of the stuff that people were wondering about over the weekend. Worst case, we do this almost every week, so feel free to send them through, and we will record all your questions and answer them off at the next AMA if you have any, especially following on from the stuff we discussed today. But yeah, really appreciate everyone submitting all the questions to prompt such a useful discussion and allow us to cover off a lot of the stuff that we've been working on behind the scenes. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your time.
Cool.
Cheers, everyone.
Catch you all
Have a good day.
next time.
Okay. Cheers.